the British Empire. These words evoke images of vast territories, powerful rulers, and a world painted red. At its peak, the British Empire was the largest empire in human history. It spanned every continent and encompassed a quarter of the world's population. Its influence touched every corner of the globe, shaping economies, cultures, and political systems. Understanding the British Empire is key to understanding the world we live in today. Its legacy is complex, a mix of progress and exploitation, innovation and oppression. From the bustling streets of Hong Kong to the serene beaches of the Caribbean, the mark of the British Empire is still visible. Its language, laws and customs continue to shape societies across the globe. The story of the British Empire is a tale of ambition, power and the enduring impact of human choices. It is a story that deserves to be told, understood and learned from. Let us embark on a journey through time, exploring the rise, reign and eventual decline of this once mighty empire. The seeds of the British Empire were sown in the 16th century, during a period of great exploration and maritime expansion. This era was marked by the ambitious voyages of European powers who were eager to discover new trade routes to the east and expand their influence across the globe. European nations, driven by the promise of wealth and the allure of uncharted territories, set sail across vast and often treacherous oceans. They were equipped with the latest navigational tools and maps, which, although rudimentary by today's standards, were revolutionary at the time. Spain and Portugal were the early leaders in this age of exploration, establishing vast empires in the New World and the East Indies. England, initially lagging behind these maritime giants, soon recognized the potential for wealth and power that lay in overseas expansion and joined the race for colonies and riches. Early English expeditions were primarily focused on establishing trading posts in the Americas and the East Indies. These trading posts served as the initial footholds for what would eventually become a vast and powerful empire. One of the earliest and most successful ventures was the East India Company, founded in 1600. This company played a crucial role in the expansion of British influence in Asia. The East India Company was granted a royal charter by Queen Elizabeth I, which gave it the authority to trade in the East Indies. This powerful trading company quickly established a strong presence in India, setting up trading posts and engaging in commerce with local rulers. Over time, the East India Company's focus on trade gradually evolved into political control. The company began to exert influence over local politics and economies, marking the beginning of British territorial ambitions in the subcontinent. This shift from commerce to control laid the groundwork for the British Raj, which would dominate India for centuries. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, English settlements began to appear in North America. These early colonies were often driven by a search for religious freedom, economic opportunity, or both. Jamestown, established in 1607, marked the first permanent English colony in what would become the United States. The settlers faced numerous challenges, including harsh weather, disease, and conflicts with indigenous peoples. But their perseverance laid the foundation for future British dominance in North America. These early settlements were more than just outposts. They were the beginnings of a new society. The settlers brought with them their customs, traditions, and ways of life, which would blend with those of the indigenous peoples and other immigrants to create a unique colonial culture. This culture would eventually evolve into the distinct identity of the United States, but its roots were firmly planted in these early British ventures. As the 17th century progressed, the British continued to expand their territories, both in the Americas and in Asia. Each new colony and trading post added to the growing power and influence of the British Empire, setting the stage for its dominance in the centuries to come. The success of these early ventures and trading posts was not just a matter of military might or political strategy, it was also driven by commerce. The exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures between the British and the peoples they encountered enriched both sides and created a complex web of relationships that would shape the modern world. The story of the British Empire is a story of exploration, ambition, and adaptation. From its humble beginnings in the 16th century, it grew into one of the most powerful empires in history, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to influence the world today. The 17th and 18th centuries witnessed a dramatic expansion of British colonial power. This era marked a significant transformation in global dynamics as the British Empire extended its reach far beyond the shores of the British Isles. The ambition to dominate trade routes, acquire new territories, and spread British influence was a driving force behind this expansion. Driven by a combination of economic ambition, strategic considerations, and a sense of national pride, the British Empire embarked on a journey that would reshape the world. The desire to control valuable resources and establish profitable trade networks was paramount. British merchants and traders sought new markets for their goods, while the military provided the necessary support to secure these ventures. Britain acquired vast territories across the globe. From the Americas to Asia, Africa, and the Pacific, the British flag was hoisted in numerous lands. Each new acquisition brought with it opportunities for economic exploitation and strategic advantage. The British Empire's reach extended to every corner of the world, making it one of the most powerful empires in history. In North America, the 13 colonies flourished, their economies based on agriculture, trade, and resource extraction. These colonies became vital components of the British Empire, contributing significantly to its wealth and power. The fertile lands of North America provided abundant resources, while the bustling ports facilitated trade with Europe and beyond. Conflicts with France, such as the 7 Years' War, which took place from 1756 to 1763, resulted in significant territorial gains for Britain, further solidifying its hold on North America. The war was a pivotal moment in the struggle for dominance in the New World. British victories in key battles led to the acquisition of vast territories, including Canada, which became a crucial part of the British Empire. Meanwhile, British influence in India continued to grow. The subcontinent, with its rich resources and strategic location, was a prime target for British expansion. The British East India Company played a central role in this process, using both diplomacy and military force to extend its control. The East India Company, capitalizing on the fragmentation of the Mughal Empire, gradually expanded its control over large parts of the subcontinent. The decline of Mughal power created a power vacuum that the British were quick to exploit. Through a combination of alliances, treaties, and military victories, the East India Company established itself as the dominant force in India. The Battle of Plassey in 1757, a decisive victory for the East India Company, marked a turning point in British dominance in India. This battle, fought between the forces of the East India Company and the Nawab of Bengal, was a watershed moment. The British victory not only secured control over Bengal, but also paved the way for further expansion into other parts of India. This period also saw the expansion of British influence in other parts of the world. The British Empire's ambitions were not limited to the Americas and India. The desire to establish a global presence led to the colonization of new territories and the establishment of trading posts in strategic locations. The colonization of Australia began in 1770, driven by the need for a new penal colony following the loss of the American colonies. The British government sought to alleviate overcrowding in British prisons by transporting convicts to Australia. This decision marked the beginning of a new chapter in British colonial history, as settlers and convicts alike began to build a new society in the distant land. In Africa, British trading posts along the coast gradually expanded inland, laying the groundwork for the scramble for Africa in the late 19th century. The initial focus was on establishing profitable trade in goods such as gold, ivory, and slaves. Over time, these trading posts evolved into colonies as the British sought to secure their interests and expand their influence in the continent. The groundwork laid during this period set the stage for the more aggressive colonization efforts that would follow in the 19th century. By the 19th century, the British Empire had reached its zenith. The phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," became a popular adage, reflecting the vast geographical extent of British possessions. From Canada to India, Australia to South Africa, the British flag flew over a quarter of the globe. The administration of such a vast empire was a complex undertaking. British rule was characterized by a combination of direct and indirect control. In some colonies, such as India, Britain established a direct system of governance, replacing local rulers with British administrators. In other regions, indirect rule prevailed, with local rulers retaining some autonomy while ultimately answering to British authorities. The British Empire was far from a monolithic entity. It encompassed a diverse array of cultures, religions, and languages. This diversity presented both challenges and opportunities for British administrators. Managing this vast and varied empire required a delicate balancing act, often involving compromise, coercion, and a keen understanding of local customs and power structures. The impact of British rule on the colonies was profound and far-reaching. It reshaped societies, economies, and political landscapes in ways that are still evident today. British influence infiltrated almost every aspect of life, from the economy and political systems to education, language, and social customs. The British established new administrative frameworks, often replacing or significantly altering existing governance structures. In many parts of the world, British rule led to the introduction of new agricultural practices, infrastructure development, and the establishment of educational institutions. These changes were often aimed at maximizing economic output and integrating colonies into the global economy. The British legal system, with its emphasis on the rule of law and individual rights, also left a lasting mark on many former colonies. This legal framework often replaced traditional systems of justice, leading to a complex legacy of both positive reforms and cultural dislocation. The imposition of British culture, however, often came at the expense of local traditions and values. Indigenous customs, languages, and social structures were frequently marginalized or suppressed in favor of British norms and practices. The English language was promoted as the language of administration and education, often marginalizing indigenous languages. This linguistic shift had long-term implications influencing communication, literature, and identity in the colonies. British social customs and values were also introduced, sometimes leading to cultural clashes and a sense of alienation among the colonized populations. These social changes often created a divide between those who adopted British ways and those who clung to traditional practices. The impact of British rule on local economies was equally complex. While some regions saw the development of new industries and infrastructure, these advancements were often designed to serve British economic interests. While British investment led to the development of certain industries and infrastructure, it often benefited British interests at the expense of local populations. The economic policies implemented by the British frequently prioritized the extraction of resources and the export of goods to Britain. The extraction of raw materials from colonies fueled British industries, but often left local economies dependent and underdeveloped. This economic dependency created a cycle of exploitation and underdevelopment that many former colonies are still working to overcome today. Despite the profound impact of British rule, it also sparked resistance and the eventual push for independence. Anti-colonial movements emerged, driven by a desire for self-determination and the reclaiming of cultural identity. Today, many former British colonies are navigating the complex legacies of colonialism. They are working to revive indigenous cultures, languages, and traditions, while also addressing the economic and social challenges left by colonial rule. The architectural and cultural heritage of British rule remains visible in many places, serving as a reminder of a complex and often contentious history. These remnants of the past are now part of the broader narrative of post-colonial identity and resilience. In the post-colonial era, many countries have undertaken significant reforms in education, infrastructure, and legal systems. These efforts aim to build on the positive aspects of the colonial legacy while addressing its many injustices and imbalances. The impact of British rule is a multifaceted story of transformation, resistance, and resilience. It is a history that continues to shape the present and will undoubtedly influence the future of former colonies around the world. The story of the British Empire is also the story of the individuals who shaped its course: explorers, administrators, soldiers, and even ordinary people who found themselves caught up in the tide of empire. One such figure was James Cook, a skilled navigator whose voyages of exploration in the Pacific Ocean led to the colonization of Australia and other islands. Warren Hastings, the first Governor-General of Bengal, played a pivotal role in expanding British control over India. His administration, however, was also marked by controversy and accusations of corruption. Queen Victoria, who reigned from 1837 to 1901, presided over the empire at its zenith. Her reign saw both the consolidation of British power and the rise of independence movements in the colonies. These individuals, along with countless others, played a role in shaping the course of the British Empire, leaving behind a legacy that continues to be debated and dissected today.